Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. This is your host, Katy Ray. I am joined with the wonderful Ludmila Woodruff. Did I say all of it right?
Yes.
Nailed it. I know you are a relationship coach. Tell me how you got into that. Tell me all the things. You're an amazing human. I met you at an event and we've stayed in touch.
Yes. Hello.
Thanks for joining.
This is so much fun.
Yeah,
so much
we're going to have some fun.
So, yes, I work with high achieving professional women, and I really help them to obtain success in love and relationships, because who doesn't want love?
Yeah.
And
right?
who doesn't want to feel really happy in a relationship? I have not met one person that wouldn't like that. So how did I get into that? You know, it's, I think it always comes back to personal journey. Mm-hmm. I had a very hard time even understanding what a healthy relationship looks like and who I need to become to even attract a high quality man in my own life. So from my 20s to my 29 years old, I had a lot of failed relationships. They were not bad men. I was just looking for somebody to make me feel whole. Let's put it that way. And at the age of 29, I realized there is one consistent person in all those relationships, and it was me. And that day I decided something needs to change if I really want to have the marriage that I dreamed of. And I knew it has to be me. So that's how it started. And then I met my amazing husband. I've been married for 11 years. We have 2 children. And another shift came with motherhood. We have this idea of how we will feel when we become mothers, and it's going to be wonderful.
Ain't that right? I mean, I'm like, tell me more about my life.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, what comes with it is also identity change, and it has an influence on your marriage as well, and your relationship with yourself and your partner. So as I've been navigating my own life, it became so organic that this is where I want to be, because I needed somebody to help me. And I even didn't know people like this existed. I come from Eastern Europe. I'm from Poland. You do not go to a psychologist. There are no coaches. It's changing right now. But when I was growing up in the 80s, you just have to figure it out on your own. So when I was figuring it out on my own, it took me so
You're
long,
like,
so much pain. Yes, what am I doing here? Exactly. So that's how I ended up in this space, because I do believe that relationships do define the quality of our life. I believe that. And what's the best, way to get there if you don't know how to get there? If you have somebody to really support you and guide you through the process of becoming your best self, and then, attracting and keeping the man, because as we know, the marriage and the wedding is just the beginning.
Right? Oh my gosh. Right? And Ludmila, I think we connected when I shared my story at an event just about the marriage piece, where my husband and I went through, we're on we call it our second marriage. Cause who was that who got married before? Like, who were we? Like who were we? Yeah, like who are like who? And now we're at such a good place, understanding place, communication, all the things. But it was because we found who we needed to be first, and I think that's how you connected, because you work with people every day to get to that. I went through a couple shittier experiences I wouldn't put on anybody else, but to get to where I am, you're right. Everybody wants to feel. They want to feel good in a relationship, and they want to feel themselves, and they want to feel like even when you change seasons that they can also grow. So for you and your husband, you have 2 boys?
Yes.
Awesome. What ages?
5 and 10.
Her eyes just crossed.
It's wild.
Yeah, right?
Listen, it's wild. I would not change it, but it's wild.
How beautiful is that to have a mom who really just helps them grow into it? I think that's a really powerful piece for them.
I think, this is when I look at relationships, right? It takes 2 people. And I think women have been for so long silenced in many ways. We've been really, modeled to take care of others to gain any value. And I think for men, we were allowed to express our emotions, but then we would be called emotional, correct? And men, on the other hand,
or weak.
Weak and all the things, right? For men, they were missing the other piece that we have access to, the emotional wisdom, the emotional intelligence, correct? And they've been denied be strong. Don't be a girl. So raising
Which
two
is
boys,
insane.
horrible, correct? Because they're also human beings.
Oh my God. I always say we leave the boys behind. Like, cause for my son, I always want him to be the sensitive human he is. Cause I think that's his superpower.
Because they do have feelings.
They are literally humans.
They have a nervous
Like,
system like girls.
Yeah.
And then we think they can just switch it off. So yes, they were modeled to just switch it off. And so this is another work, right? The work for men is a little bit different than the work for women. And I think raising two boys is just a beautiful opportunity for me. I remember when I was pregnant and I found out I will have a son, my first thought was, I'm not a math person or a science person. How will I raise a boy?
Isn't that so crazy how we've been conditioned?
Correct.
Throws me off. I know.
All what they need, right? Somebody who's technical.
I like sports, so I'll be a great boy. My son builds Lego all day. Like, he doesn't even play any sports. My husband's an athlete. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what have we been conditioned to think?
Much.
Yeah. And my daughter will take a ball and throw it. Like, it's so different. And I'm so glad you said that, because you were like, wait a second, I can't believe I thought that. Like,
it was literally, but then I will tell you, with the second one, he was also, when I was pregnant for the second time, all I wanted was a boy. Isn't that, because I've already went through this process of who am I as a mother? Who am I still as a woman? Who am I still as a wife? Correct? Because I think so many of us, and it happened to me, I forgot how to be a woman. I forgot how to be myself in the first years of parenting.
oh my gosh.
I
Wow.
had postpartum. I didn't even know what was postpartum depression. And it had influence on my marriage, right? And thank God for my husband, he did his own work in his 30s. So thank you for all the conscious men out there that are in touch with, their emotions and their own, all like, evolving.
Yes.
It's so necessary.
They're doing the work too.
They're doing the work too. And so, we will never protect our kids from having any type of pain, but at least they are not getting our luggage and our baggage that we have been given,
or suppress your emotions,
or suppress them. No, because it's really painful. And I see so many, as a parent, I see so many kids. They experience anger, they experience frustration, they experience pain. If we tell them to suppress it, then we create those issues on community level, and societal level. And for them as human beings and individuals, they don't feel comfortable with expressing themselves.
Yep.
And then they become adults and they get into relationships. And then you know what happens.
And then they're the toxic one because we never help. Yeah,
exactly. Avoid it, right? So, and
you're the story about someone getting out of a toxic relationship because of you. Like, yeah.
Yes, we do not want the avoidance. We want them to understand that, all feelings are allowed. You're allowed to feel angry in my house. You can be angry. You can be frustrated. You can be disappointed. And there is a way of expressing that's healthy. There is a way that can be very toxic. Yeah. And we want you to just learn how to do it in a healthy way. For all of us, for me, my husband, and our kids.
So going through all the experiences before, like at the age of 29, like looking back, do you see all the patterns that you went through?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I can see, I have so much compassion for myself.
Yeah.
I always, and I was raised, by a single mom. My dad died when I was 3. And my mom is from Russia. She grew up during the war. She will be 88 this year. So she had to learn how to be tough. She had to learn how to survive on her own. She had to depend on herself because she was 5 years old during the Second War. And she's a beautiful human being. She's very, it's fire. My mom is fire. And I was fire too. I'm still fire. And at the same time, the way she taught me how to be confident, it was very aggressive way, let's say.
Yeah.
Because if you felt disrespected, we would really go for it. Verbally.
Yeah.
Like nobody would even touch me because I was so, people say assertive. It was not assertive. It was, this
aggressive,
fake, fake confidence that now I look back and I was very aggressive because if I felt disrespected, my protection mechanism was to attack.
Yep.
And so I felt very strong. Now I think about this and I know how body works. I could always feel like, my shoulders would go up and I almost was standing in a position of
fight.
Very, I'm the bigger person than you. So I'm the threat. Because that's how, Eastern Europe was like this. And I look what's happening right now there. And I think, that's how I had to grow up. Really, you have to know how to handle yourself. And when you start dating, it's very different. Correct? You don't need the strong masculine energy of, I don't need you, or, I'm not going to be playful because that's weak. I always felt like I would never wear pink. Look at this. I would never wear pink because
she's in pink.
I'm in pink because it's for the,
feminine.
Girls
Yeah.
And, and the other pattern that I noticed was I was looking for a man to love me. I never knew how it felt to be loved by dad because mine died at 3 and I didn't have a good role model. So unconsciously, I didn't understand. I was looking for a man to love me and to feel whole.
Yeah, that was what complete me.
Yes, somebody complete me and, look for your other half. And it's just such a fairy tale that's not even true. So that's what when I look back at my patterns, I didn't have any boundaries. I also thought if I take care of a man, he will choose me. And that's my value of, in taking care of him and being of value to him. I was so confused.
Yeah.
I was so confused. And then on the other hand, I had this strong personality that you don't tell me what to do and you don't tell me how to dress and, you don't tell me anything, literally. Very rebellious. So it's like going in between this pleasing behaviors, lack of boundaries, and on the other hand, very strong, very assertive, aggressive, right? So it was very interesting mixture.
So your realization turned you into like, I want to coach and help others feel the same like aha moment of like, this is how you can change your life. Yes, what made you feel like coaching is it?
So I think I've played with the idea of coaching for a very long time. But as I say, in Europe, it wasn't very popular. It's becoming more popular right now, but it wasn't really, it's not like a real job, you would say. So I played around with this idea for a long time. But I think when I became a mother, that experience humbled me so much. And I could see how I was creating a lot of disconnection in my relationships because I felt so out of control within myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I was so disappointed by the whole experience. I was like, everybody lied to me. Right? Because they say it's going to be the best period of your life. And then you think, what is happening to my marriage? Oh, you have someone to love and you can do, I'm exhausted.
You don't feel like yourself.
Where's the passion with my husband? Where's the passion with myself? Who am I? You look in the mirror, your body changes.
Yeah.
So much has shifted for me. And this aggressiveness that I used to have, it now showed up in my parenting, meaning I was very reactive. Yeah. I didn't know how to be with my emotions in a way, how to regulate my nervous system, how to attend to those parts of me that were so confused or scared or exhausted. I didn't know what to do with myself. Yeah. So when I saw how me being in that emotional space influenced, my son and started to influence my marriage, and of course me, because I was not feeling happy. I literally found myself one evening in the kitchen standing and thinking, this cannot be this. I moved to another country. I moved from Poland to Belgium at the age of 19. I got my master's degree in foreign language in a foreign country. Then I moved to America with my husband, again, foreign country. I did all the right things. I'm supposed to be happy. I shouldn't
feel like this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling so miserable? This cannot be this. All the things I've done, the price I paid. So it was a big realization that something needs to change because I don't want to live like this. And I find so many women get the degrees, get the job, get the house, whatever that is, even the marriage. And
why don't I feel fulfilled?
Yes. And why is this not working? Right? Why is this not working? I'm so successful in my career or my business. Yeah. And I still feel disconnected. I still feel unhappy, unfulfilled, and reactive, right? So that's where I realized when I did the work myself first, of course, I found my first coach and it changed my life. And I thought, wow, if we just knew how much power of choice we have and how emotions are not our enemy and we just need to learn how to be with ourselves and support ourselves, we can avoid so much unnecessary emotional and relational pain. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
It changes your life. It changes your relationships. So that's why I decided I will do this work.
Yeah. And I love that. And not only do you work with the couple or just the woman?
So mostly I work with women.
Okay.
Yes. Sometimes I have couples, but mostly with women because what I've noticed is if you just change one person in a relationship.
Yeah, I know.
What happens?
Yeah.
We have a certain dance, correct, in a relationship right now at this moment. Whoever is listening, you have a certain dance of communication, of being with yourself and each other. And then if you start shifting from within and you don't engage in those patterns on your side anymore, then your partner needs to adjust his steps and his dance as well. Otherwise, right? If you have a certain way of engaging, if you are passive aggressive and now you become assertive, he needs to change his steps, correct? If you know how to be more in your feminine and you know how to relax and you don't pursue perfection all the time, now he will notice the shift. You don't even have to tell him. He will notice the way of being is very different. So he will have to, change his dynamic with you, or if he doesn't, then
you're still
correct. There you have
love that.
You can make a decision what you want to do.
You're totally right too. And it's like as growth happens, like who's still there as you grow?
Correct. Like because it makes people uncomfortable, but also it makes you realize there is some grieving on the way because you are becoming a different person. So your relationship change with your family, with friends, right? Even as we say, with your husband, with your kids, there is some acceptance of who you used to be. Right. Very often my clients, the first reaction is, oh my goodness, I was acting this way all my
I know.
life.
How many times do you hear that?
This is horrible. Well, we only know what we know, and we are who we can be at this certain moment, correct? There is no, the shame and the blame, it's really is not helpful. So there is so much freedom in acceptance, and just understanding we're all doing our best. Perfection is just an illusion, because I think a lot of women are really, aiming for being perfect and the best. And the moment you can just put it down to the side and understand, yes, you are going to make mistakes. Your partner is going to make mistakes. The men you date are going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And just accept that part of you and love it. Understanding perfection is not necessary for you to be happy and fulfilled and be the high achiever. You're
so right.
It's not necessary.
I feel like I owe you money for this session right now. Like, do I owe you money? I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things I already took from this. It's crazy. I love that though, that you found, and life gets messy and you give yourself grace from everything that happened because it really puts you to where you are. But I love vulnerability, especially with motherhood and just being a woman and, like looking inward and saying, this is what we can change, because it doesn't mean the relationships in the past would have worked. It just means like you see that there were things on your end that you could have helped yourself with, or maybe not, so many bad things, that felt like it was all someone else. But I love that the motherhood piece, like, I just love when parents are honest, especially with their kids too. Like when I F up, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm also human. Like I tell them that because I want them to know that it's okay to mess up. And I love that you live your life of coaching and they're fully involved and you're very honest about motherhood because you're not saying you don't love them tremendously. It's just that nobody talks about how hard it is. Because
it is, right?
It's so hard.
When you look, we used to live like in villages and, communities. And now with this modern, there are always pluses and minuses, right? Because maybe you don't want your whole family around you, correct? But also with that comes, you're really now dependent on yourself and your partner. So it's two of you.
Taken away from your time. And
And as I said, the relationship itself changed so much in the last 70 years. Like women used to stay home, correct? Women we would marry for this financial safety and security. We couldn't even open the bank account. So much have changed right now, correct? Now is we want to be married to our best friend, to our best lover. He has to be also evolving. He has to be into self-development. He has to look good. We need to have sex so many times. Like we put so many expectations now on one person.
I know.
And then we also go to work, right? So because what I think happened for women, we've been so disempowered for so long that we, as I say, we depended on men for providing. And now we went to the workforce. And I think a lot of women, I see different approaches. You become so masculine, right? That you don't want to need the man because you want to be independent, because you don't want to be hurt, because you see at your lineage and your grandmother or your mother and you look how it was and you don't want to repeat the same, correct? Or I see it's just repetitive behaviors of, being silenced. A lot of women, when I ask, what do you want? They even don't know what they want. And then when they realize what they want, how difficult it is really to ask for it and express it and say it.
Yeah.
And, in relationships or dating, when you are dating, how do you hold your boundaries? How do you express yourself that was not okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we are fighting, but I will not accept that. So, or we go very masculine or we go still very pleasing, right? So that's what I see a lot with women. And
that's huge.
It's so much pressure now on this unit of marriage, correct?
Yeah.
That now you have to be my everything. It doesn't work that way. You still need more support than just your husband, and he cannot be all the partner you are dating. He cannot be your all everything.
Yeah.
It's just impossible because you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
How much can a person carry?
Yeah.
Correct? So I think as we are becoming, this modern society, we have more freedom, we have more independence. But as I say, the lack of community and support and bigger network, you have to literally build it intentionally. Right?
Yeah. I agree to all of that. And I love what you're doing. I love everything you're talking about. I love that we finally did this interview. But tell me one of the messages you want to get to the masses, to everybody. What is one of your big messages?
Big message is really get to know yourself. Really get to know yourself.
And it sounds so simple, but it's so freaking
simple,
hard.
I know it's hard because who are you?
Yeah.
Do you know who you are? Do you know your patterns? Do you know your triggers? Do you really know what makes you happy? Do you know what is missing from your life right now? And do you know if you are trying to find the missing piece in somebody else? Because if you are going to be very, very disappointed.
Yeah.
Because even with the best partner, if you are not happy, and I don't say happy being constantly in a euphoric state, but being at peace with yourself and accepting, as I said, all parts of yourself, the ones that you want to hide and are ashamed of. If you don't know how to do that for yourself, even in the best relationship, it's going to show up in very interesting behaviors.
Interesting is a good word.
Interesting behaviors, right? Because if I don't feel confident in myself and I don't feel enough and I don't feel deserving, no matter what my partner will do for me, I will still get triggered by small things, right? So build the trust within yourself, learn how to build that trust. I think a lot of us were taught not to listen to our intuition, not to trust our feelings or our gut. And we really need to go through the process of learning ourselves.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know who I am and then I go date or I get married, how do I even know who my partner is? The guys that I'm dating. If I can't connect to myself on a deeper level through all the masks and layers that, became me. Because when we come to the world as babies, right? The world that sometimes, depending on who your parents are, right? The world didn't get, its hands on you yet.
Yeah.
But as you grow, all the beliefs that are given to you, and if your parents were not aware enough, that's what you are working with. So we all get the relational blueprint from our caregivers.
Yep.
So whoever they were, how they did conflict. If your dad would shut down, are you shutting down? Or you chose a partner that is shutting down, right? So what is the blueprint? How did you learn how to love? How did you learn how to be loved? How to experience that? How did you learn how to do conflict? How to repair it? Right? What does it mean really to be in partnership? What have you learned? Because all of us have a blueprint.
We have homework. You're giving us homework to do.
You're asking me what to do, so I'm giving you something.
I love it. But you're right. Like, know who you are. Know the blueprint.
Know your blueprint, because without understanding first, awareness, as we know, it's always the first step. But if you don't know your blueprint, if you are afraid to look at it, you will not be able to change. And then you just repeat, rinse and repeat. And so I've decided that no matter how hard it is, I always say, I welcome the triggers. A lot of people are scared of triggers. And I say, every new trigger is an invitation for me.
You're right.
It's horrible, but it's an invitation. What is this? Why is this impacting me so much? Yes. So I always say, look at the triggers, look at your patterns, and no shame, no guilt, just understanding, pure understanding. And if you can do that for yourself, the way you relate to yourself, the way you relate to your relationships, your kids, your husband, and the guy you are dating will change exponentially. You will not have to look for somebody to complete you because you are whole. You are whole. Even as messed up as we can be right now, right, or missing some understanding, we are still whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't have to do anything for it to prove ourselves.
Well, you are dropping some knowledge today. I thank you. Know who you are, right? I mean, there's so many questions you ask throughout that where I'm just like, oh my gosh. Wow. Like, wow. I love what you're doing. This has been amazing. Where can we find you?
Well, so we can share my website.
Yep.
Yes, my website, Ludmila Woodruff. Yes, and then on social media. So I have, you can schedule a consultation call. You can get on my wait list, whatever works for you. I just love to work with people.
I can tell, and I love it.
I do love it. You know, it's a business, but I do love it. So, and when I see my clients transform, when they are no more, we kind of, live in our own prisons, right? Of our own conditioning. So if you can really feel free and feel free to be in your really self-expression without thinking what the people will think or how will I be perceived or, what my parents thought is best for me.
Yeah.
It's such a liberating way of living, and you can give that to anybody who is around you. And I will tell you, for women, very often I hear, wow, Ludmila, you are so confident and in a way that's very peaceful. Like you are really okay with yourself. And I wish that for every human. Yes, I do, because it's not that I'm perfect. It's not that I don't screw up. I'm still a human being.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm okay with all of it. And that's what I give my.
That is
my
a nice way to
husband,
say it. You're peaceful with it. Yeah.
Yes, I see it. I'm like, yeah, that's
me.
That was not the best. Even this morning I was like, well, that was not the best. Like, this is what we had. It's all fine. I apologize.
Well, we can find Ludmila at Not a Great Whisperer podcast page, at The Real K Ray, at katyray.com. You have been amazing. Thank you for joining us today. We're at BKN Creative Studio. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.